Welcome to another edition of Bases and Balls with Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus, brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. We appreciate Rosey taking time each week to join us here at WAKR 93.5, 1590 WAKR. Rosey, I guess let's start first of all with the big teddy bear. The big fella is back and swinging the stick pretty well since he's been activated, and that's Franmil Reyes. And we certainly missed that bat for about 6 weeks, but he's come back swinging the stick. And once Eddie Rosario comes back, we only had a chance to see it for about 4 innings, but him in that lineup really lengthens the lineup, which I can't wait to see once Rosario comes back. But talk about the importance of Reyes in this lineup.
Well, I think we saw it when he first came back. Not only are the home runs, that's obvious that helps the ball club, but I think he helps Jose Ramirez too when he hits behind him, because when he was out, teams could really work around Ramirez, who still managed to somehow put together some good numbers. But I think he'll see a little bit better pitching now that Reyes is back, and obviously showing that it's amazing. It doesn't seem like he missed a beat, even though he missed significant time, but has come back, swung the bat well, and that helps I think the entire lineup, certainly near the top where Jose Ramirez is as well.
Yeah, and like you said, for people that don't understand the chess game, right, Rosey, of baseball, it enables Jose Ramirez, when this guy's batting behind him, you don't necessarily can pitch around him, and then Rosario gets better pitches maybe behind him, right? It all kind of comes together. At least that's the way you draw it up.
It does, and if you can get production from the middle of your lineup, that takes some of the pressure off of hitters at the bottom and that type of thing. So it's amazing how one player can make a big difference for the other 8 in that starting lineup.
Okay, let's do a little injury update if you can tell us what you know at this point. And let's start right there with Eddie Rosario. I know it was a couple of days he had some discomfort. He finally went on the IL. Give us an update on what you know about him.
Well, it's at least 10 days since he's on the IL, but they really didn't know when they put him on how long it would be, because they wanted to get some imaging done, and they did not have the results of that yet. At least the latest that I had heard. So, I think you're kind of taking it day to day. Maybe the imaging will tell them more. We might have an update today now that we're back in Cleveland, but still undetermined on when Eddie will be able to come back.
Okay, how about the big 2 guys in the rotation, Civale and Bieber? How far are they away?
Yeah, still I think a ways, Ray, because Shane Bieber is not throwing yet. They're still going through some of the things to make sure his shoulder is ready to go when he does start to throw. So until that starts happening, it's really hard to pinpoint a time for him. I think Civale might be a little bit further along. He still has kind of a brace on his finger, but he's been able to do some light throwing to keep the rest of his arm going a little bit, and the rest of his delivery. So they're just kind of waiting for things to calm down on that middle finger before they really turn him loose. But it seems like Civale's a little bit ahead, but I would still say, Ray, we won't see either one before August, and how far into August we go, that remains to be seen.
Jim Rosenhaus with us, Bases and Balls, brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. Had a couple of people ask me about Tristan McKee, Rosey. He was cold at the beginning of the year, had a couple of good appearances, then back down to Columbus. And I was wondering if you could give us an update. This is a young man who came out of spring training in the rotation. Where is he right now, and the Indians' plans for him going forward here in 2021?
Well, I think they want to let him continue at Columbus, because even though he came up and look, he made 10 starts last year at the end of the season and had some good success. But I think we've seen this year that maybe the byproduct of skipping over AAA altogether. And there were some things that maybe got missed. And, I don't know if taking a step back is the right word for it, but this is really beneficial for him where he is right now. And moving him up and back like they had to do several times earlier this season probably wasn't the best thing for him in terms of his development, but they had a need. And I think they're really trying to not let the need, which they have, interfere with letting him continue to develop. Just make your start every 5th day at Columbus and work on some of the things that you don't have to worry about results necessarily, and see if that really helps him take a big step forward when he's all done with that. But they want to let that happen. And the only way you can do that is make the starts and take the time to do it.
Jim Rosenhaus with us, bases and balls here on WAKR. Rosey, it's also the weekend of the draft. And the Indians' philosophy, I thought maybe you could get into scouting, what the Indians look for. We've seen the last couple of years go with more position players. In the past, we've certainly seen them rely heavily on the pitching staff and such, and that has paid off big time in the big time level. But talk about the Indians, maybe from what you've picked up and talking to the folks, what they'll be looking to accomplish with the draft. It's always exciting with these new guys coming into the organization. There's a plethora. You got college talent, you got high school talent, a wealth of talent across the board. It'd be interesting to see what the Indians do. Why don't you kind of take it from there?
Well, they'll take their first pick is number 23. So they're down a bit, but I think as we've seen, Shane Bieber was a 4th round pick. So where if you're picking within the top 5, that means you had some bad years to get that. So maybe it's good to pick 23rd. But anyway, I think it varies from year to year, Ray, and there's been no indication as to how it's going to go this year, whether they would, focus more on the higher risk, but maybe higher level of a high school player, or maybe a little bit more certainty with a college player or pitcher. They've had some good success picking some college pitchers in recent years, and we'll see if they go that route. But they always tell you they're going to take the best players available when they pick, but I'm sure they have certain positions in mind that they wouldn't mind stocking for their farm system, at the lower levels and see where it goes. But nobody really, it's hard for them to tell you that, because they don't want to let other teams know what their plans are too. So that's the hard part in trying to identify where they're going. But I know they're excited about replenishing the system. Last year it was only 5 rounds, so it's a little bit tougher. This year it's 20 rounds. It's not quite the 40 that it was for many, many years. And I don't know if it stays at 20 for years to come, but I know they're excited to add 20 players to their system.
Rosey, when you look at the minor league system with the Cleveland Indians, you have a better grasp on this than I do. Is it pitching heavy? Is it hitting heavy? Or is it kind of laid out equal where the Indians are in a position to maybe take the top guy on their board? Do you have any idea with that?
Well, I think it's fair to say with some of the trades that they have made and now the injuries that pitching, especially at the upper levels, is thin. And they're not going to remedy that in the draft, because when you draft a pitcher, he's still a ways away. So they're thin at the upper levels. There's some good young arms that they just don't want to rush, which they shouldn't. I would say the strength of the system is up the middle infielders for sure. And that's all over the system. They're probably a little bit short on outfielders, because there's been a need for that for several years, and they haven't been able to fill that from the farm system. So maybe that's an area they look in. But again, I think they go after the best player on the board, regardless of position at that particular time, because you can always make trades to address specific needs, at a later date.
There you go. Bases and balls with Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus, brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. He takes time out of his busy schedule to join us each week. Rosey, again, my friend, thanks for making time, and we appreciate it. We'll reconnect again next week.
You got it, Ray. Thank you.